the psychology behind chart patterns trading, why it works, what you need to look out for to ensure that you're trading right with chart patterns. So today we move on to look at the different types that we can trade with. And so we are looking more for example today. We are going to talk about the pattern, and then we go to the chart and go find trade ideas based on this pattern. Do example, explain to you better with what we can see on the chart, and then we go ahead to find examples and see if we can trade with that. I especially want to teach head and shoulders because I saw a pattern like it today, which I think may work out for us to find a trade idea and join some trades that are already ongoing. All right, so looking at chart patterns like head and shoulder, what does it mean? We will talk about that, but let's go back into the market. Also, we want to have in mind that today we are expecting high impact news for the US. We're expecting the NFP. So have that in mind for whatever instruments you're trading in the market so that you will know exactly how you are going to be trading it. Okay. We also have employment report for Canada as well. So when you're trading the US dollar, you're trading Canadian dollar, you want to have in mind how you go about it. Right, so I will be looking at the chart, whether you're joining me on YouTube or you're joining in the beginner's room. I am here, I'm looking at your chart, and I'll be ready to interact with you, answer your questions. If you have anything, any trade you're looking at the moment that you want us to know about, or you have seen a pattern that you want us to consider, I'm here ready to look at them with you and maybe even find a trade on them. So when we talk about head and shoulders, this is what is forming or has formed right now on BTC. We saw the big move yesterday, you know, the sharp drop in BTC yesterday. The price has since retraced to around the neckline of the head and shoulders. And right now, I am expecting that it continues, starts going to the downside again. So if I am going to trade based on this head and shoulders on BTC, what is there, and how, you know, what will I see? What will make me want to enter a sell here? In this case, at what point will I be looking to enter? And what does it pattern? What does it represent? What does it tell us about the direction of this market? So yes, even if I do not understand everything happening in the economy that is affecting this, so, you know, so maybe whatever is happening between the US president and the plans and everything that is now affecting the BTC, affecting the US dollar and some other things, I may not be so well versed in that, but does that mean I can't trade? No, if you understand how to identify patterns on the chart, you will have an idea how market is behaving, and that can give you an understanding of what market is likely going to do, and you can find your trade idea. So being able to identify a pattern like this can go a long way in helping me find a trade idea, and also to join the traders here, even if I am not so good at defining what exactly is causing this movement yet. Of course, it's a good thing to know fundamentals and, you know, to go ahead and do more analysis with it. But if you do not, that shouldn't prevent you from trading. You can simply identify the movement of price with patterns and find trade ideas while you're still developing yourself when it comes to fundamentals, when it comes to fundamental analysis. Let me bring out the chart back. Okay, so let's go look at this, and we'll use that to find a trade idea and to understand what we are talking about when we are talking about this. If we are talking about chart patterns like head and shoulders, what does it mean? head and shoulders pattern. This is head and shoulders top, which usually we find in an uptrending market. So if the market has been trending up, you see head and shoulders like this, you'll be able to identify what it means and what it is showing us. A head and shoulders pattern usually is used in technical analysis. All right, and it is a specific chart pattern formation that predicts a bullish to bearish trend reversal. So for me to be able to trade based on these patterns, I think it is also quite important to know how to identify the trend, know what the market structure is and what the pattern is telling you. So if we are in an uptrend, for instance, and I am seeing head and shoulders, usually this represents a pattern that is showing that the price wants to, or the trend wants to move away from that up into a downtrend. The pattern appears as a baseline with three peaks where the outside two are close in height and the middle is the highest. So this is what I mean by peaks, the tops. So it has three tops, the first top, second top, and the top third one. Now these three tops here, they are not equal. Also, they are not aligning with whether an uptrend or a downtrend yet, because here we have a high and then we have a higher high. With a higher high, that's still supporting bullishness, right? But then we have again a lower high, which is showing bearishness. So in between this whole pattern, there is more like confusion. There isn't a clear indication of what price is doing yet. At what point will I know that price is ready to change, or will I start preparing myself for a change in price? At this point, when it creates a lower high and start moving down, I start preparing myself. That isn't a time to enter yet. By the time it goes and close lower, because at this point now we've created equal low instead of higher low if it is still continuing an uptrend, or a lower low if it is already in the downtrend. At this point, it created equal low. What will I want to see to confirm to me that the trend has moved away from that uptrend into a downtrend, a lower low? So by the time the body of the candle closes lower than these last two lows that were equal low, that's a lower low already. So with a lower low created, a higher low already created with the shoulder, what does that tell me? We now have characteristic of a downtrending market and we are moving away from uptrend into a downtrend. And what kind of trade will I be looking for? Of course, a sell. So if I have been doing buy, I've been looking for mainly buy. By the time I see this pattern, I'll go ahead and do a sell. Okay. So let's go and see how we can trade these patterns and even the other parts pattern, the other one of it, the opposite of this one, which is for buy. Okay, so this head and shoulder stop is usually found in a midpoint or the end of an uptrend. So that means it's best if there has been an uptrend in market. So the market has been trending up, and then all of a sudden, this head and shoulders pattern is formed. By the time it forms at the height of an uptrend, that gives me a reason to want to buy a sell after the price has created the lower low. It has broken below the neckline. By the way, where is the neckline? This area. So I have labeled this to help you see the difference, to help you know what each side of this pattern is called. So this is called the lower shoulder. This is the head, which is higher than the one before it, and then this is the right shoulder. That's head and shoulders created, and this straight horizontal line here, which creates kind of like the support level where the price is getting to within that formation and bouncing back up. That point is the support level, but it's also called a neckline. Now, this neckline is the area we are looking at to see a breakout from in order for us to trade a sell. And this is the breakout candle. All right, so there's a breakout from the neckline with the body of the candle. Now, when we talk about breakout, it is also quite important to understand that a lot of the time the price can come below the neckline. For instance, with this candle here, the price went below the neckline and we saw a pin bar, we saw a pin bar formed. That means there was a time the price, while that candle is still forming. So what if this is 1 hour time frame? maybe by the 40th minute, price was still showing below this area as if a lower low was going to be created. But what happened? The price pushed back up and it ended up closing here above the neckline. As long as the body is not below the neckline, that is not a close yet. And when we do not have a close below the neckline, of course, it is best to wait. Then what am I waiting for? This close. That's the point where I would go and find my trade. So here are some tips. The two shoulders don't have to be exact equal height. So this shoulders, the first shoulder here, second shoulders, they don't have to be equal height. This one, you see the highest point, which is the high of that candle, the wick there is here. For the next shoulder, the wick, the highest point is somewhere here, so it's higher. If we decide, okay, it's because this one is a weak, and maybe we look at the bodies, the body closed here for this, and the body closed here for this one. So it's still a bit higher. But what is important is that the two shoulders are not as high as the point in the middle. All right. So the point in the middle must be the highest one. Also, the neckline doesn't have to be straight horizontal like this. There are times that the neckline, there will be a breakout, of the, sorry, there will be a bend in the neckline. Maybe there has been slight lower low here or higher low when the second low was created. In that case, we can have a neckline that is slanted upward or the one that is slanted downward. Whatever the case, that will still amount to head and shoulders. So we can have head and shoulders like this, where you notice that this new low here is a bit higher than this one. In that case, the neckline is a bit bent. It's not exactly straight like this one. We can also see head and shoulders like this, where maybe the new level of the new low is slightly lower than this, so it's bent like this. So whichever of these three we see, head and shoulders are still being formed. The last eye is still lower than the middle point, and we are still waiting for a low to be created with a close below the neckline of that head and shoulder. So the head neckline doesn't have to be exactly straight. It can be slightly bent upward or downward, giving us another way of looking at that head and shoulders pattern. The head always has to be the highest point, so the middle point must be the highest point. Then we have head and shoulders bottom, which is just opposite of the head and shoulders top that we have just talked about. Now, the head and shoulders bottom, this one is a bullish reversal pattern. We want to see this in a downtrending market. Okay, it is also known as inverted head and shoulders. In a downtrending market, we can find it at the midpoint of a downtrending market, where it is indicating for us that the price wants to make a pullback. Or we can find it at the end of the downtrend, where there's an indication that there's going to be an entire reversal from a downtrend into an uptrend. It signals a reversal to an uptrend from a downtrend. And what are the entry rules for any of this? Wait for a close below neckline if you're looking at head and shoulder stop, where we look at a move from uptrend into a downtrend, or a close above the neckline in the case of an inverted head and shoulders. So like I explained earlier, what a close means that I have to see the body of that candle outside or above the neckline or below the neckline. You may decide that you're going to wait for reversal depending on the instrument that you're trading. A close above or below the moving average, as the case may be, can also be of added advantage. Also ensure that you measure your risk to reward ratio. Now let's go back to the chart, because I am now seeing this pattern in Bitcoin. Right, so in Bitcoin we have the price has been in an uptrend. We got back above the 100 at the point. Now we have head and shoulders formed. I believe that this is based on what is happening in the economy, based on Trump and all of that. They're all having impact on what we can see today. So it fell yesterday and pushed lower. And